So the pectoralis major is the big muscle in the front of the chest, and its origin starts in the medial half of the clavicle, down the sternum and down to the sixth rib, and it inserts on the lateral edge of the bicipital groove. The actions are shoulder adduction, internal rotation, and it helps a little bit with flexion. There. Pectoralis minor's origin is on ribs 3, 4, and 5, and it inserts the movable parts is on the coracoid process. The actions are protraction and depression of the shoulder. The sternocleidomastoid starts on the sternum and clavicle and heads up to the mastoid process, and actions are every movement of the neck, but it does not do neck extension, and it does 5 movements. So the deltoid is a large triangular muscle, and its origin starts in the anterior border of the clavicle and runs across the acromion and down the posterior side of the spine of the scapula. It inserts is the landmark, the deltoid tuberosity, convergent muscles because it converges into one spot, and the actions are shoulder flexion for the front part of the deltoid, shoulder extension for the back part of the deltoid, and adduction for the middle part of the deltoid, and they work together internally or externally rotating. The muscle in the armpit right there in the ribs, it looks like it has sawtooths, and it starts on ribs 1 through 9 and heads up to the back of the inferior angle of the scapula called your serratus anterior. The origin is on the ribs and the insertion is the inferior part of the scapula, and the action is protraction. So the next part is the trapezius. There's the upper trap, the middle trap, and lower trap. The upper trap starts on the occiput at the base of your skull and runs down to the acromion of the scapula. The middle deltoid starts at the middle towards the spinous processes and heads out to the acromion on the spine. The lower trap starts at T7 and runs all the way down to the spine of your scapula at the acromion process. Upper part elevation, middle retraction, and lower part depression. The last stimulus dorsi starts at the sacrum and runs all the way to T7, and then the muscle heads out to the front where the pectoralis major was. The bicipital groove is its insertion, and the lats, they're huge triangular wings like sails, and then they do shoulder adduction, internal rotation, and extension. Muscles that start on the medial border of the scapula and head to the medial border of the spine. They run in this angular direction, and they are called the rhomboid major and minor. Their starting point is C7 all the way down to T5, and its insertion is the vertebral border of the scapula, and the actions are retraction, so pulling back of the shoulders. So the rotator cuff muscles are sits, supraspinatus, infraspinatus, spinatus, teres minor, and underneath the subscapularis. The supraspinatus starts at the supraspinatus fossa. The insertion is the greater tubercle of the humerus, shoulder abductor, and all the rotator cuffs keep the shoulder in this socket. The infraspinatus is fossa, attaches on the greater tubercle of the humerus where the bicipital groove is, and there's external rotation because it's on the back side. The teres minor attaches on the lateral border of the scapula and attaches to the greater tubercle of the humerus. Because this is the exact same line of pull as the infraspinatus, it's an external rotator. The subscapularis is between the scapula and the rib cage of the subscapularis. The origin is the front side of the subscapularis fossa and attaches to the lesser tubercle on the front side. And that is a shoulder internal rotator, as you will see. The triceps brachii acts a lot on the elbow, and there's a little action on the shoulder, and that's a shoulder extension. The biceps brachii is the long head attached on the supraglenoid tubercle, and the long head runs through bicipital groove and becomes part of the biceps. The shorter head runs from the coracoid process and becomes part of the biceps as well. Their insertion is the radial tubercle of the radius, and its action is shoulder flexion.